Seasonal depression, what it is, and what you can do to overcome it. So, growing up during the holidays, it was always tough for me and my family. And the reason why it was tough was because, one, financially, we didn't always have it, right? Like, there were times where we were struggling so much that we couldn't afford to keep the water on. So, it was real tough for us. But on the second hand, me and my family, we really didn't celebrate Christmas. And as a result, that was very tough for me as a kid because growing up, I would see all my friends coming to school with new shoes, new video game systems, and all this other stuff. And I was just showing up to school with the same raggedy shoes that I wore the last year. So it was always really hard. But what made it even tougher was seeing this festive thing happening and not being a part of it. Because during this time of the year, you start to see everybody wearing these, green and red shirts and the elf ears and all the Santa Claus stuff. You start to see all the movies, whether it's Home Alone, Charlie Brown movies, or even the Dr. Seuss movies. And as a result, you always see this one thing that brought everyone together. And as a result, it seemed exciting. There was this love in the air, this excitement in the air, and you always felt like you wasn't a part of it. You felt as though that everybody was having a good time except you. And when I say you, I'm really talking about myself because for the last, I want to say maybe 28, 29 years, right? I'm 31 now, but for the last like 28, 29 years, I would wake up on December 25th, go downstairs, and there'd be nothing. Not a tree, not a gift, not a Merry Christmas, not a hug, no nothing. And the reason why is because, again, me and my family, we just didn't celebrate Christmas. And as a kid growing up, you just didn't understand why that was the case. My parents would say it was because of religious reasons, which it was, but you couldn't help but feel like, yeah, I understand that, but shouldn't I get something? So as a result, it was very hard for me. And what that does as a kid is that when you start to see Christmas coming around, it actually had the exact opposite effect of what it intended it to be. Because when you start to see the Christmas lights go up, when you start to see the Santa Clauses and all the elves and the Grinch shirts everybody's wearing, when you start to see all this stuff, it was a quick reminder that one, you wasn't going to have fun on December 25th, but two, you didn't have the money to celebrate it anyway. And that was really hard for me. And that's why during that time, I was going through, at the time I didn't know, but seasonal depression, right? Seasonal depression, one of the biggest reasons why it exists is because when people see other people having this celebration, this fun, this family, this love being brought together, all this other stuff, it reminds them of what they don't have, of what they lack. And this is only if you are truly lacking those things. It's very common, and all therapists know this, but it's very common for this time of the year to be the busiest year for us as therapists. This is really where some of those griefs that we've gone through have really taken a toll on us. Like, this is the time where it really hits us, right? So for example, maybe last year you spent Christmas with a loved one, a parent, a girlfriend, boyfriend, or whoever the case it may be, and now they're not there. Right now I even have a client who went through or who had spent last Christmas and all that stuff with a certain loved one, right? Someone they were dating. And this year, that's not going to be the case. And when this time comes around, they can't help but think about what times were like when they were in that relationship. So as a result, when you see this celebration, it's actually a reminder of what you don't have. And that's one reason why this seasonal depression does exist. Now, here's the thing about this, right? And I'll talk a little bit about this later, about things that you can do. But something that I've learned using this therapy framework that I give to all my clients is that your pain actually highlights what it is that you deeply care about. So if you look up and you see people walking in the park, holding hands, having a good time, and that's making you sad, well, there's an indicator that you may be longing for a relationship. If you turn on the TV and you're watching a Charlie Brown movie or some Christmas holiday movie and you're seeing all of the family getting together for this turkey or this whatever dinner that they're having and you're longing for that, you're feeling sad, that's showing that you care about family. That's showing that you care about some type of festive activity that you're missing, right? Pain is not always a bad thing. And actually, I should say pain is never a bad thing, right? It's really the context that we put these things in. It's how we see, it's how we respond when the pain is here. Because for me, whenever I see this pain, I ask myself the simple question, what is this pain really trying to show me that I care about? If this pain was a person, what is it telling me that is missing from my life? So when the seasonal depression comes, ask yourself, what is this pain? What is this depression telling me that I need in my life? And there you will find your answers. All right. But outside of that, right, outside of the Christmas holidays and the celebrations and things like that, there are other reasons why this time of the year there's depression. And one of the biggest reasons why is because the weather changes. When me and my wife, at the time she was my girlfriend, she had a travel assignment because she's a nurse. She had a travel assignment in Minnesota. And as a result, we left South Florida, right, in the middle of December, which was about still 78 degrees. And we flew up to Minnesota in the middle of December where it was like negative 10 degrees, right? It was absolutely cold. And one thing that she told me that stuck out was the number of alcoholic patients that she had when she was in Minnesota. And it clicked for me at that moment that people who are living in these cold cities, right, if they do not have a support system, right, they may find themselves picking up other habits during this time of the year, right? Because when it's cold out, when it's frigid, no one's really outside. And as a result, if you do not have a support system, if you do not have a good group of friends, if you're someone that tends to isolate and only gets out when they're at work during this time, right, it may be really tough for you to go through. It may be really tough for you to deal with. Now, if you're like, some lucky people like myself or other people that live in a warm area, right, like you may not experience that as much, right, because the weather is always good year round. You have your snowbirds that come from Canada, New York, Minnesota. They come down to Florida during these cold months and they stay until it gets warmer where they're at. So not only is it the celebrations, but also it's the weather. But something else that not a lot of people realize during this time of the season, what really starts to happen is the sun starts to go down a lot sooner. And when that happens, you start to lack vitamin D. And also you start to lack that melatonin, right? That melatonin which makes you go to sleep. Like your internal clock, your circadian rhythm, that starts to get switched. It starts to get a little bit out of whack. And as a result, you start to miss out on sleep, right? Your sleep patterns are a little bit more irregular. When it's dark outside, maybe you don't go out as much, right? Maybe friends are not willing to stay out past 6 p.m. because they know that it's getting dark, right? Things start to get limited. And as a result, you start to spend more time inside. And when you do that, you find yourself just in your head all day until it's time to go out the next morning. So again, not only is it the celebrations, not only is it the time changes, not only is it the weather, right? But also it's that sunlight that we definitely need. Something else that you may not realize is that during this time of the season, it's actually flu season. And literally, I'm not lying when I say this, literally just today, one of my clients told me that they had to cancel because they're in the ER because of the flu, right? They're in the urgent care, if you will. During this time of the year, hey, the flu, the cold, whatever these viruses are that's lurking during this time, COVID at one point in time, which, it's still out there, but not to the degree that it was. Like, this is really where it festers, right? This is really where it starts to spread. So as a result, people find themselves a lot sicker during this time. So there's less energy that they have to whether celebrate, be with friends, or just simply be themselves. And here's just one more reason why seasonal depression exists during this time. Is because, again, not only is the hobbies starting to be limited, but even travel. During this time of the year, some people are, they're reluctant to travel because it's too expensive during these holidays, right? Or maybe, again, where they used to go or where they would plan to go, hey, it's cold, right? It's cold. It's not the ideal place, right? So they want to stay put until it warms up, right? But even with the places that you work at, I had another client say this, and this just crossed my mind. During this time of the year, as things are winding down, there's a good chance that things are getting a lot busier at your place of work, right? You're getting to the end of the quarter, getting to the end of the year, and we're trying to tie up all these loose ends. And as a result, that may cause overload for you. It may cause more work for you, if you will. And that can definitely be stressful and overwhelming. So here are some things that you can do to help you to overcome this seasonal depression. So one of the first things, probably my favorite thing to do, something that I recently did, and this is geared towards the holiday seasons, right? Like if it's that Christmas spirit, you don't really have it like you used to, or maybe you've never had it. What you can do is you can give this time of the year a different meaning. For me, growing up, this was always a time where you were just reminded that you didn't have enough, that there were some people out there that had better lives than you because they could afford the new PlayStations, the new Xboxes, the new clothes, and all that other stuff, right? And that was like back when I was younger. Like I thought that's what, having a better life looked like. But during this time of the year, I'm actually able to take hold of it, make it my own, and make it this being a time where I spend it with my own personal family. And I have the pen in my life, just like you do, to rewrite what I want this part of my life to look like. Okay, so be the author of your life and redefine what this time of the year looks like for you. The second one is a very simple one, but it's you developing a routine. And with this routine, something that I would definitely add is that I would love for you to try to get out, even if it's for 10 minutes. Get outside and try to get some natural sunlight, because the sun isn't as shining as bright, or as long rather, as it used to during those hot summer months. So as a result, your vitamin D is down, which is linked to your mood. Your melatonin is down, which is linked to your ability to sleep, right? All these things are definitely important. And even when you're doing that, right, going out, even add a dose of exercise. And that's something that you should be doing all throughout the year. But that's definitely something that's going to help you to be able to sleep better, but also it improves your mood. Next, build your well before you're thirsty. And what I mean by that is during the spring, during the summer, make sure you're establishing these connections with other people so that when the winter comes, you have people that you can link up with, right? Spend time with, have fun with, people that you can spend indoors with and invite over for a game night. Because if you're not finding these connections during the summer, during the spring months, right, it's going to be very hard for you to do that when everybody's inside or just simply traveling, because again, it's the holidays. So before that time comes, right, make sure that you're spending time developing new relationships, new bonds, so that way you have a well to drink from when you're thirsty over in the winter. And then the last one is a very simple one, but it can be overlooked. Simply find a therapist. By finding a therapist, you have someone that's right there with you on the phone, giving you strategies just like this, but also helping you to push you to stay consistent with your goals. Because something that I talked about all the time is that it's not a problem for people to come up with a goal. The problem is them sticking to the goal, and having a therapist that can keep you accountable and help you to overcome some of those thinking patterns that are getting in the way of you executing on these goals. And that goal may be, as I just mentioned, establishing deeper relationships, or just simply starting to go out for more exercises, if you will. These are just simple things that help you to get over this seasonal depression. So this is Coach Wells. We just talked about seasonal depression, why it exists, and what you can do to overcome it. What I want you to do is just simply subscribe to this channel so that you can get more information like this. And guys, again, as always, thank you. And I'll see you later.